What up, what up? Winbush here. And if you've been following me on social media, you know by now I've been working with Method Man on making a game within Fortnite. And so I've been sharing step by step as I've been creating this game. Since I'm not a game developer, this is all new to me. So as I've been learning stuff, I just been posting up teasers, and a lot of people caught interest in the latest thing that I put inside the game, which is myself as an NPC. So once you're inside the game, you can actually click X to speak with me, and I tell you that Method Man is trapped down into the comic book shop. And so a lot of people are asking me, how exactly did I make myself a game character to put inside of Fortnite? So I just wanted to walk you guys through a couple of steps that it took for me to make my character come to life. So I just experimented a little bit trying to figure out what was the best way to photo scan my head, because I'm doing this all by myself, in which I ended up just using my Ferret Pro by Creality. If you might remember, I used this one to actually scan my Dreamcast that I've had for a very long time, and I got pretty good results for it. And so at first I was scanning all around my face like this, and I was getting okay results, but I then thought, since I'm able to hook this up to a tripod, I put it on a tripod, and that way I could replicate as I'm moving like on a turntable. And then I just started rotating around, first by moving my head, and then by rotating my whole body. Now this was an easy way for me to scan myself because I am doing this alone, but the main thing is, once I turned all the way around, sometimes it's going to lose the scan because I can't see what's going on behind me. And the best tip I could say is to always look forward, because if you're moving your eyes around, like I had some bad scans when I'm trying to look at the computer screen but also moving my head, and it's going to catch that within the texturing. And so you want to open your eyes up really wide, look forward ahead if you can, and just trust the process that you're actually getting a good scan, which it took me a couple of tries there to get a good scan. As you can see, this one, it came out decent, but I'm missing a whole side of my head there. The textures are a little bit messed up. So I actually went out into my living room where I have a lot better lighting situation. I have a white wall there, and I was able to really just control the lighting so that I could get a better texture on my head scan. But once I'm happy with my head scan, the next step from here, I'm going to take it into Cinema 4D, but you can use any 3D application that you want. But the reason I'm bringing it here is because, as you can see, my head is upside down, so the rotation is all weird. And then also when I clicked on it, you can see that the axis is all the way off here onto the right. So what I'm going to do is come up here to Tools, and then I'm just going to come down here to Axis Center. I'm just going to make sure I center up my axes there, hit Execute. Now you can see we're in the center of everything. And this is very important to make sure that your axes are aligned. And so I'm going to come back over here to where we have coordinates, and then I'm just going to zero everything out. There we go. And then I'm just going to rotate everything as well. Now I'm going to rotate it this way first, and then I'm going to bring it right side up like so. So 180 by 180. And then I can also come up here to my extensions. I do have this plugin called Drop the Floor, which is just going to bring it to the floor. And you can see that everything is looking decent now. Now the reason I have it facing this way instead of this way is because if I have a camera inside of my scene and I zero everything out, and let me pull this back, you can see that my face is now facing the camera, which is important for a character creator, because that's what I'm going to be actually using to make myself into a 3D character. So once I have everything aligned here, the next step from here is just to save it out as an FBX, which is as easy as coming up here to File, come down here to Export, and just save out as an FBX. Now, as I alluded to, I'm going to be using Character Creator 4. I'm going to be actually using, and particularly, the Headshot plugin. I find that Character Creator gives me a lot more flexibility. I know a lot of people out there like using metahumans when working with Unreal, but metahumans to me just, I don't know, it's not that customizable, and I just feel more comfortable working inside a Character Creator, so that's been my application of choice. But inside of Character Creator 4, I have Headshot opened up. I'm just going to click on Mesh here, and then I'm just going to actually drag my FBX into this area. So it's as easy as coming through, dragging it in, and I want to bring it in as a prop. So I'm going to left click on this, and now you can see that we have our head inside of Character Creator. Now I did do a full tutorial on the process of being able to get this to work, so I'm just going to run through this really quickly here. So once I have my character created and everything using the Headshot plugin, you can see now inside the viewport, I have my character. He has clothes on, he has jeans, he has a t-shirt, and he also has a bucket hat, because I do rock the Kango hat from time to time. So I only needed the head model to be able to create the full character here. And once you come over here on the side, you can actually customize it if you want. Like if I come over here to where we have morphs, you can come over and you can make the body bigger. So if I click on body, you can actually come through here. There's a bunch of different sliders. Like I can make them more buff if you wanted to, but I'm just going to leave it at default right there because I like how my character is looking there. And since I'm really digging my character, the next thing I wanted to do was add facial motion capture, and particularly my facial motion capture, because it is my likeness. And so for that, I'm actually using the Rokoko Head Rig, and I'm just hooking it up to my iPhone 11 to do all the facial motion capture, and I'm going to do it all with iClone. Now, the setup for this is pretty simple. I just have the Rokoko Head Rig on, as I said, with the iPhone 11, and then I record myself speaking my dialogue, and I'm able to move around freely with my hands and move my head around because the phone is actually being pretty stable there on the Head Rig. And then once I'm done recording all the sessions there, I then bring it into iClone where all the magic happens. Now, the magic all happens with this plugin called AccuFace for iClone, as you see right here, just going through the procedure of getting everything calibrated with my camera rig here. And then once I have all the video footage calibrated, this is where the magic really happens. So if I come down here under preview, and then I click on the space bar, you can see that everything is just replicating on my 3D character there. Now, of course, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be fixed on the back end, but just for getting the initial motion capture here, this is pretty good. So you can see my character is talking up there, and the same thing is happening on my 3D character right here. So I'm actually going to hit the space bar again just to stop everything. But if I look over here, I have a bunch of these different attributes where I can actually control, and I could go through and change out a lot of stuff, because as it was playing, you saw the mesh actually went through the head, and maybe the mouth is moving a little bit weird. So you can go through all these attributes and really fine tune it to get it to where you need it to be. And also, if that's not enough, you can come up here to where it says audio Vizim track. If you click on this, you can actually pull the audio by using the audio file from the video file. It's going to allow it to actually match the mouth movements a lot more, in which again, I do have a full tutorial. If anybody's interested in seeing exactly those steps, it's about a 20-minute tutorial. So I'm not going to go through everything here, but once everything is done, this is what it looks like. So I have my facial motion capture going. I added a little bit of motion capture in there as well for the body, just to give it a little bit more life. This isn't me actually doing motion capture. This is motion capture from the iClone library that came free with it. So I just aligned those back up together just to get something like this. So I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out right here. So the next step from here is to bring this into UEFN, that's Unreal Engine for Fortnite. So in order to do that, it's as easy as just clicking on my character, coming up here to File, come down here to export, and you can export out as a FBX. And if you look inside of these browser settings, you can actually export it out for Unreal, which is really what we want right here. You can make the FPS anything you want. I usually go with 60 frames per second. Frame range, you're going to want to make it only what you want to send out, because you do want to make sure that your file sizes are small. You don't want them to be super large. Embed the textures. I'm only going to do it at 1K because this is going to be stylized in the comic book forms, so you don't need a lot of resolution in there, and then just export it out. So once I have the FBX inside of UEFN, that's Unreal Engine for Fortnite, this is what the final result looks like inside of my game scene. So I already have my post-process volume set up to look like a comic book in here. So you can see we have the black outline going around my character, but this is all coming from iClone right here into UEFN. And yeah, I have a couple of motion captures hooked up to this. So let me actually open up my sequencer so we can see what's happening. So with my sequencer opened up, I'm going to actually click on my camera here so we can have a better view of what's happening. Now, if I just click play, you can see that it rolls up in there, and then we have the comic bubble come up, and then my character starts talking. And if I look down here inside of my sequencer, you can see I have the audio from my character in here, which is binding, and then have my camera move, which is just a slow pan. I have my character, which I have T-pose. So I brought over a T-pose because if I wanted to add a bunch of different animations to it, I just have my generic T-pose character, and then I could just export out FBX animations, drag and drop it onto my character, and that way I can have them in different poses. So if you see down here, actually, let me move this out a little bit more so we can see better what's happening. I actually have two different animations in here combining. So right here, I have my one where he's leaned up against the wall, and then it's just going to morph into the one where he's talking there, and then as he's done talking, it's going to morph back out into him standing against the wall there. And so it's just really simple. You just import your animations, you just literally slide them in there, and it's going to do all the tweening in between frames there on its own. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out there. And if anybody's interested in seeing like a full breakdown on how to build this out, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do a full tutorial just inside of UEFN. how to get this all hooked up. But just in a bubble, I have this button here that's not made visible once it's inside the game, but once the character that you're playing as goes past this button here, it's going to say chat with Winbush. And then that's going to automatically, once you hit the X button or the E button on your keyboard, that's going to bring up this sequencer right here, and it's going to activate it, which is then going to make it go into the sequencer here, and that's when this plays out. So another tip there too is if you have your camera cut set up, if you right click down here and you put cam blend, if you can see right here, we have this nice little curve in here. Now if I move this curve all the way over like so, that's actually going to be a transition from the game into the camera. So whenever I play the game, that's why it slowly transitions into the camera move. If you didn't have that, then it just automatically snaps into this camera move, which could be a little bit jarring. So I always have a curve that eases into it, and then I have a curve that eases out, so it goes back into the gameplay. So that in a nutshell is how I was able to get myself as an NPC in the Fortnite. Now I know this is more of like a breakdown, not a tutorial per se, because this could be a couple of hours long if I went through everything step by step. So of course, as I said, I'll leave links down below into any particular tutorials that I have on the process of doing this. And then like I said, leave me some comments down below if there's anybody out there interested in UEFN and build maps for Fortnite. I would be happy to make more tutorials on how to actually do the execution points of inside this game, because like I said, I'm new to game development, so I've been just learning as I go. Happy to share that information with you guys if you want to see it. So once again, my name is Jonathan Winbush. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and until next time, stay fresh, keep creating, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'll see you soon. Take care.